प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. Om. Dear friends, we are seeing the 8th chapter of the Gita, and we are going through a slightly difficult chapter, in the sense that there have been several concepts in this. Initially, Krishna was talking about Adhibhutam, Adhidaivam, etc., etc. Then he was talking about the Antya Bhavana, or the final frame of mind, that is the idea, the frame of mind of a person at the time of leaving the body. So that is what he was saying. Whatever is the final frame of mind, a person will attain a birth according to that. So that is what he was saying. And then he was also hinting at, say, the different types of say results which different levels of people are going to get. Say for example, a person who is performing only some yajna, yaga, etc. A person who is lifelong, say, performing these rituals. Of course, he is doing his swadharma and then he is performing his rituals, but not in the karma yoga mode, but in kamya karma mode. That is, he wants the result, he wants some punyam, etc., etc. For those people who are punyam seekers means every day you go to some, say, punya kshetra, you go to Tirupati, you go to Tirumala, you go to some other place, you go to some other place. So this is what is seeking punyam. So such people, they attain some loka, in the sense that loka is not a physical place, I have been telling. They attain certain lokas, they may be Pitraloka, they may be Swarga Loka, or some other loka. Then there are the second level people who perform this karma yoga, not the kamya karma mode, but karma yoga mode. That is doing their karma with Ishwararpana Buddhi. Ishwararpana Buddhi means that is surrendering to the divine will, and whatever individual does, that is done as an offering to the say the Supreme. So that is what is karma yoga. Karma yoga plus upasana. Those who do like that, they go to another slightly higher level called Hiranyagarbha Loka, the creator level. And then those who are in the path of jnana, that is Atma Vichara. Atma Vichara means that is the nature of self. That is what we call the distinction between real and unreal, Atma, Anatma, Viveka. So that is, there are some certain steps there. What is called Nitya, Anitya Vastu Viveka. Nitya means what is eternal and what is non-eternal. Then you should have a Vairagya. Vairagya means dispassion for whatever results are promised here and whatever results are promised in other world like heaven, etc. And then he should also achieve some self-discipline, Shama, Dama, etc. All that is self-discipline, and a deep desire for liberation. So all these things accompanied by the study of Vedanta. Study of Vedanta means that is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. We have been hearing these terms even earlier. So these are the people who will attain what is called liberation, in the sense that they get freed from the whole bondage of this birth and death. So all other people are eternally in that cycle of birth and death. So that is what we saw earlier. And in the last episode, Krishna was talking about the Omkara Dhyanam. And in that Omkara Dhyanam, he was saying that this Omkara can be used as a sort of symbol, as a pratika, as a sort of means for a Saguna Brahma. And Omkara can also be a means for liberation. Omkara, if it is understood completely, the entire significance of Omkara, and then a person meditating on that, he will attain that liberation. So that is what he was saying. So we have to see what exactly is this Omkara. After all, this Om is only a letter. What we see is, suppose you go to a temple, you say Om Ganeshaya Namaha, or Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, etc., etc. There is this Om is used for various things. So this Om, how is this derived at? Suppose you want to derive a symbol in order to express an idea. Suppose symbol actually expresses an idea, isn't it? Suppose you use the letter G. If you go to a textbook of physics or mathematics, what does G represent? G represents gravity. Suppose you say something like R represents radius. You use the word called D, a letter called D. D represents diameter. Some other letter called M represents mass. So something like that. C represents the velocity of light. So something like that. So these are the symbols which are evolved in order to represent certain concepts. Here you want, there are limited, the concepts are very, very limited. Suppose the mass is a very, very limited idea. There is some mass, the pen has a mass, this book has a mass, I have a mass. So this mass is something, it is a very, very limited concept. Similarly, radius is something which is a very limited concept. There is a circle, and then there is a center, and then there is a, say there is a that perimeter, and then this distance is radius and diameter, everything is fixed. So you use the initial letter, it is done. But for Brahman, for that supreme reality, if you want to represent by a symbol, how are you going to represent? Because this Brahman is something which is something which is say which encompasses the whole universe. It represents the whole universe. It represents what all say words the human being has expressed earlier, what are words the human beings are expressing now, what all words the human beings are going to express in future. That is the whole Shabda Prapancha, whatever literature, whatever say whatever human being is uttering, whatever concepts are uttering, all are covered in that supreme reality. And whatever experience has taken place earlier means millions and billions and billions of people have come and gone. So the experience of billions and billions of people, it is there in Brahman. The experience of billions and billions of people who are existing now, that is also there in Brahman. The experience of billions and billions of people who are going to come in future, that is also there in Brahman, because Brahman is that infinitely existing consciousness in which all these things are, which are there, all these things appear. So the whole world of Shabda, the Shabda Prapancha as you call it, the whole world of words, it is there. The whole experience, whatever experience we can visualize, all that experience is also there. So how to represent such thing, in which all these things they become, we can't even say a part. In this Brahman, all these things they appear in that. Our people have evolved some little bit of some sort of logic. There is some little bit of logic which is explained in our Vedanta texts. For example, this first of all I have to say that Om is it is having 3 syllables in that. 3 syllables are A plus U plus Ma. A plus U plus Ma, these 3 are called Om. So what is this A? So A has to represent something, U has to represent something, and Ma has to represent something. What is that? You see, if you are the very first letter in any language, if you say, that is A or A. Even a child starts with this say sound called A. A child, when it cries, the child cries A. A child will not cry as E or U or Ka or Ta. It doesn't cry like that. The very primary sound which comes out from say the human vocal cords, the very first sound which comes out from our vocal cords is A. Just open the mouth and then leave out air and let the vocal cords vibrate. The sound which comes is A. And then after that, then various mutations take place in the mouth. Various mutations means the tongue touches various parts of the say mouth. There is what is called a soft palate, there is what is called a hard palate, and then there is what is called a teeth ridge, and then there are what are called lips. So tongue touching so many places within the mouth, and then sometimes the lips are closing and sometimes they are opening, etc., etc. With all these permutations and variations, all these things are represented by the letter U. That is all the intermediate changes starting from A right up to the closure of mouth. When you say that Ma represents the end. A is the beginning, and Ma, when you close the mouth and then you say Om, A and Ma. In between, whatever transformations are taking place are represented by the letter U. So this A represents the beginning, and U represents all the modifications of sounds which can be which are possible by the human mouth, and then Ma is the closure. So this A, U, Ma represents the entire Shabda Prapancha, we can say. That is how it is represented, because there is no other way of explaining the whole Shabda Prapancha in one letter. So this whole Shabda Prapancha is all names, or rather nameable things, they are represented by this letter called Om. Then suppose you look at the objects. The object is what is called Rupa. Rupa means any object is having some shape, and that when I look at an object, and that object is some sort of experience in my mind. It is an experience in my mind. If I see a pen, it is an experience in my mind. If I see a book, it is an experience in my mind. So, what all objects I see, they are all experiences in my mind, and all these objects in turn, they are evolutes from these 5 elements only. What all objects you see in this universe, say we have seen that say process of evolution, Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha, Akashad Vayuhu, etc. Initially there was a first appearance of this Akasha or the space. From that space there is what is called Vayu, and from that Vayu there is what is called Agni, etc. And all these 5 elements, they have resulted in this whole universe, this Prithvi, Adhyah Prithvi, Prithivya, Voshadhayaha, the whole plant kingdom and all the animal kingdom, etc. What all we see is something which is Rupa. All the forms and shapes which we see, they are all evolutes from that, so that supreme reality, or from that original what is called the initial Prakriti, and that Prakriti itself is that manifesting power in that consciousness. So, what all you see, it can be represented by that. So, all this Rupa Prapancha is again a modification of that Prakriti. The entire Rupa Prapancha is a modification of that Prakriti. And Rupa and Nama, that is name and form, are one and the same, in the sense that when I look at something, I give a name. So, when the name I am able to cover by A, U, Ma, etc., the same thing can be extended to all the shapes also. I am able to cover this pen by using certain name, in whatever language it is. So, this is covered by a name, and this name is again coming under Ha, U, Ma, etc. Then all the forms, they are also coming under that. So, this can be equated with that Rupa. So, this name, if you equate it with all the Rupa, all names are modifications of that Om, in other words, and all forms are again modifications of that what is called Maya or Prakriti. This is a rather complicated evolution, we can say. So, this name and Rupa, name and form cannot be separated. So, equate this Om with Atma, equate this Om with that Prakriti. So, that is how this is equated. Another way in which it is done, because all these things are just appearances in Chaitanya only. Another way is explained in this what is called Mandukya Upanishad. You see, human being, not only human being, all the beings, they have got their experience, and experience is something which is happening to us every day. That is, when we are awake, we have got some type of experience. When we are sleeping, there is a dream for some time or maybe longer time. So, the dream again is an experience, and then again there is what is called deep sleep, where the mind itself withdraws. So, during the waking state, the mind and the sense organs are very active. So, now I am very conscious of what is there around me, what is there, who is sitting in front of me, and then I am very much conscious of all my experiences during the waking state. And the same impressions which are there in the mind, they create another world when I am sleeping. When I am sleeping, the mind alone is active, whereas the sense organs are withdrawn. Sense organs are withdrawn in the sense that my eyes are closed, and then I am not seeing something in front of me, I am not listening. I am not all my other indriyas, they are not functioning in the sense they are withdrawn. They are withdrawn. They are taking rest, let us say, and then mind alone, it has projected its own world in that mental screen. So, that is what is the dream. Dream again is an experience which is a projection by the mind. So, that experience also is an experience of the mind only. Then suppose we get into deep sleep, where that dream also is not there, that is dreamless sleep. When you go to that dreamless sleep, say that again you do not realize anything when you are in that condition, because the mind also is withdrawn, mind also takes rest there. And then when you wake up, then you have a feeling, oh, I had a very nice sleep, I did not know what I was doing, I had a very nice sleep, I was very happy, I felt very happy. So, that notion of happiness is something which is also experienced. So, all these experiences are something which are again represented by, in this Mandukya Upanishad, this Jagrad Avastha or the waking state is represented by the letter A, and the dream state is represented by the letter U, and then the Sushupti or that deep sleep state is represented by the letter Ma, and then this consciousness is something which is going beyond all these states. Consciousness is always there, it is an eternal, it is somewhat like an ocean of consciousness. It is something which is an all existing, it is comparable to space or the ocean. So, in that there are certain small manifestations, Jagrata Avastha, Swapna, etc. are mere small manifestations. So, this all human experience can be expressed in these three letters called A, U and Ma. So, this Omkara is something which is covering the whole range of human experience, let us say. The seeker meditates on this Omkara. In fact, this Omkara Dhyanam is something which is prescribed for sannyasins. All other prayers which we do are all for us Grihasthas. Suppose I do some Satyanarayana Vratam, it is for a Grihastha because I seek some prosperity. Satyanarayana Vratam, why do? We seek some prosperity. Some other Varalakshmi Vratam, we do it for prosperity. Some other Ganesha Vratam, we do it for something else, or some other Vratam. So, all these things, they are all having certain limited perspective and limited scope. Whereas this Omkara meditation, if you are meditating with reference to a particular deity, as I said, Om Namo Narayanaya or Om Namah Shivaya, what Vedanta says is that you will attain that in that particular state. Whereas, if you just understand the whole meaning about how the whole range of human experience, how the whole range of Shabda, how the whole range of Rupa and the whole range of experience is experienced in this, and then all this thing is only an appearance in that Supreme Consciousness, and I am nothing different from that Supreme Consciousness. The meditation is that I am not different from that Supreme Consciousness. So, when a person is continuously in that meditation, so that is the level which is being talked about by Krishna here. So, this shlokas 11 to 15 of 8th Adhyaya, they describe such a state. This 11th shloka, it talked about Yadaksharam Vedavido Vadanti. Then 12th chapter, 12th Adhyaya and 12th shloka and 13th shloka, they elaborate the same thing. 13th shloka says, Om Ityekaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Ma Manusmaran. That is, knowing its significance, knowing having full knowledge of A, U, Ma, having full knowledge of about how that syllable has evolved. With that, if you are say meditating on that Omkara, Yah prayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim, he attains that supreme status, he says. So, this 14 and 15 also, he says the same thing, and in this 15th shloka he says, Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashasvatam napnuvanti mahatmanah samsiddhim paramam gataha. So, those who meditate on this Omkara, say then dukkhalayam na apnuvanti dukkhalayam ashasvatam na apnuvanti, that is, they will not attain this punarjanma. They will go beyond this cycle of birth and death, and then they are called Mahatmanah, that is, whose self is no longer limited. Their limited self has dissolved, and then they have identified with that supreme self. So, that is why they are called Mahatmanah. Mahatma does not mean a great man. Mahatma here means a person who has given up his limited identity and who has identified with that supreme identity. So, these people, they attain that samsiddhi. Samsiddhi means moksha or liberation. So, this is what he says. Then the there is a slight change in the subject here. Then he says, of course, not a slight change in the subject, in continuation. So, till from 11th to 15th shloka, he talked about what is called Jivan Mukti. That is, a person who is in that meditation, who is meditating on that supreme reality, he attains that supreme reality. So, who is that person? A person who is liberated while being alive, he is otherwise called Jivan Mukta. We have come across this word earlier also, both in 2nd chapter, 4th chapter and some other places. Then he says in the 16th shloka, he makes another statement, A Brahma Bhavana Lokaha Punaravartino Arjuna Mam Upetyatu Kaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Now he is talking about what is called Punarjanma, and then how people are trapped in this cycle of birth and death. So, that is, we were talking about three levels of people, that is those who are performing all these rituals etc., and then who seek punyam. So these people, they are the people who attain a particular loka, and then those who combine some upasana etc., they attain a higher place called Hiranyagarbha loka, and then those who meditate on the supreme reality, these are the people who attain say knowledge, the jnana path, these are the people who attain liberation. So he says all the other things, Brahma Bhuvanal Loka, right up to this Brahma Loka, they are, all these things are having a return journey. Return journey means the people who attain a particular loka, they come back in the sense that they attain some other janma, then again they do some work, then again they attain some other loka or some other janma, let us say, and then they keep on rotating from janma to janma. But then only those who attain the supreme reality, there is no return path. So that is what he says. Then there is a slight description of what is called say our concept of time, what is meant by a yuga and what is meant by cycles of creation etc., etc. There is a discussion about it in the next few say shlokas. So he says sahasra yuga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam te ahoratra vido janaha. This is a slightly, all this, as I said, this particular chapter particularly, it is having certain concepts which have to be very, very slowly explained, but I am very, very briefly explaining. Here he is talking about what is called the creator's lifespan. So we have seen that what we call supreme reality is something different from creator. Creator is a lower level of God. We have in Vedanta, by now we must have realized that Vedanta is now talking about two levels of God. God with a small g and God with a capital G. God with a capital G is that supreme reality which is that infinite consciousness where there is no, I mean it is something like an ocean of consciousness where there is no kartrutva, that is doership etc. And then this lower level of reality, it is called God with a smaller g. It is otherwise called Hiranyagarbha, you call it Vishnu, Shiva, whatever it is. So this is the level at which that creation takes place. So we are now talking about this level, and this particular level, it again is having some cycles. So there is a cycle of creation. Just now I was saying about the cycle of creation. Why do we say about the cycle of creation? Because consciousness is something which is unborn, it is something which is eternal, which is always there. And then this Prakriti is also eternal, it is something which is not evolved at right a few years ago or a few million years ago. So that is the reason why we talk about millions and say you infinitely go back in time, infinitely, that is what is called, that Srishti is there in eternal cycles. So this particular cycles of creation will continue in the next episode. Harihi Om Tat Sat.